The mistake. The colony of Haven 12 was small and quiet. It sat on the edge of human space, far from busy trade routes. The people there were farmers, engineers, and miners. They worked hard. They lived simple lives. That was why the pirate ship chose it. The pirate vessel drifted out of warp behind the moon, hidden from early scans. It was not a large warship. It was fast, sharp, and built for quick raids. Its captain, Rake, stood on the bridge and watched the colony through the main screen. "Easy target," he said. Beside him stood an older crew member named Drax. His scales were faded from age, and one of his horns was broken from an old battle. Drax did not look calm. "Humans," Drax muttered. "We should not touch human space." Rake laughed. "They are soft. They argue among themselves. They are slow to act." Drax shook his head. "Not when it matters." But the captain had already given the order. Small assault ships launched from the pirate vessel and raced toward the colony. They struck fast, disabling communication towers and power stations. Explosions lit the night sky. People ran in fear. Pirates moved through the streets, grabbing supplies and valuable equipment. They worked quickly. They had done this many times before. Inside a small home near the edge of the colony, a young human child hid behind a table. The child's name was Eli. Eli's parents had tried to reach the emergency shelter, but the blast knocked them down. Pirates forced their way inside. One pirate grabbed Eli roughly. "Small one," he said. "Easy ransom." Eli struggled, but did not scream. The pirate dragged the child outside and toward the landing ship. Across the street, Drax saw what happened. His heart dropped. He rushed to the captain's side once they returned to the main ship. "You took a human child?" Drax asked, his voice low and tight. Rake shrugged. "It is valuable. Families pay well." Drax stepped closer. "You do not understand. Humans are different." Rake waved him off. "Every species says that about themselves." The pirate ship jumped to warp, leaving the burning colony behind. On Haven 12, emergency teams rushed through the damage. Fires were put out. Injured people were treated. Eli's parents were alive, but their child was gone. A distress signal was sent, not just to nearby systems, to Earth. The message was simple. Human child taken. Pirate vessel unknown heading. On Earth, the alert reached Central Command within seconds. There were no loud debates. No arguments. No delays. A silent protocol activated. Admiral Stone read the message once. Then he gave one order. Launch recovery fleets. Across Earth orbit, massive warships powered up. Engines glowed blue in the dark of space. One by one, they entered warp. No speeches were made. No threats were broadcast. Only movement. Back on the pirate ship, Eli sat quietly inside a holding room. The child's hands were tied, but the face was calm. A guard watched nervously. "Why are you not crying?" the guard asked. Eli looked at him. "My people will come." The guard laughed, but it sounded forced. Drax entered the room slowly. He studied the child. "You do not know what your kind has done," Drax said softly. Eli did not answer. On the bridge, a sensor officer turned suddenly. "Captain, we are detecting warp signatures." Rake frowned. "From where?" The officer's voice shook slightly. "Multiple directions." "How many?" There was a pause. "Too many." The main screen lit up with bright signals appearing across the system map. Rake stared. "This is impossible. We left no survivors with tracking ability." Drax stepped forward slowly. "You left parents alive." More signals appeared. Organized. Closing in. Not wild. Not chaotic. Precise. The sensor officer swallowed. "They are not sending messages." Rake felt a cold chill move down his spine. "How long until contact?" "Hours. Maybe less." Drax looked at the captain with tired eyes. "I told you," he said quietly. "You do not take human children." The pirate ship tried to change course. But every direction showed new warp signatures forming. They were being surrounded. On the distant edge of the system, the first human warship exited warp. It did not fire. It did not speak. It simply held position. Then another arrived. And another. Until space itself seemed filled with silent steel. On the pirate bridge, no one laughed anymore. And in the holding room, Eli sat calmly, looking at the ceiling. "My people are here," the child said softly. Outside, the humans were coming. The hunt begins. The pirate ship drifted in the middle of the star system. Around it, space no longer felt empty. Human warships continued to arrive from warp, one after another. They did not rush forward. They did not fire. They formed a wide circle around the pirates. Perfect spacing. Perfect silence. Captain Rake stared at the screen. "How many?" he asked. The sensor officer swallowed. 30, no. 40 more still arriving. Drax stood behind him. His voice was low. "They are not here to scare us." Rake forced a laugh, but it sounded weak. "It is a show of force. They will demand ransom. We negotiate." Before he could say more, the main screen flashed. A single transmission request appeared. No signal code. No threats. Just one line. "Return the child." Rake looked at Drax. "That is it." Drax nodded slowly. "That is it." Rake straightened his shoulders. Open channel. The screen shifted. A human admiral appeared. His uniform was simple. His face was calm. His eyes showed no anger. "This is Captain Rake," Rake began. "We are willing to discuss." The admiral cut him off. "Return the child." Rake frowned. "You do not understand. This is a negotiation. We require payment." The admiral did not blink. "You have 1 hour." The screen went dark. No threats. No shouting. No warnings about destruction. Just a time limit. Rake slammed his fist against the console. "Arrogant primates." Drax stepped forward. "They are not arrogant. They are focused." Rake turned sharply. "They will not destroy us. That would risk the child." Drax looked at the fleet display. "You still do not understand." Across nearby systems, other alien ships watched from a distance. Trade vessels powered down engines and stayed quiet. A merchant captain whispered to his crew, "Do not get involved. Humans are retrieving one of their young." The words traveled fast through galactic channels. "A human child has been taken." Old stories began to resurface. Stories of human retaliation during ancient wars. Stories of how humans crossed half the galaxy for lost soldiers. Now, it was not a soldier. It was a child. Back on the pirate ship, Rake paced the bridge. "We jump to warp," he ordered. The engineer's voice came through the comm. "Warp drive locked. They have us targeted. If we try, they will disable engines instantly." Rake hesitated. "How precise are their weapons?" he asked. The engineer replied softly, "Very." In the holding room, Eli sat quietly. Drax entered again. He studied the child carefully. "Are you afraid?" Drax asked. Eli looked at him. "A little." "That is honest. But my mom says humans protect their young more than anything." Drax felt something heavy in his chest. "She is correct," he said. Outside the room, pirates argued loudly. They would not bring this many ships for one child. "This is madness." Drax closed his eyes for a moment. "No," he whispered. "This is human." 30 minutes passed. Human ships tightened their formation slightly. Still no weapons fired. Still no second message. Just presence. Inside the pirate bridge, another alert sounded. "Captain, more warp signatures." Rake stared in disbelief. "More?" "Yes." Larger vessels. On the edge of the system, 3 massive human carriers exited warp. They were far larger than the first ships. Rake felt sweat form along his brow. "They are preparing for war." Drax shook his head. "They are prepared already." On the lead human flagship, Admiral Stone stood calmly. An officer approached him. "Sir, pirate engines are fluctuating. They may attempt escape." Stone nodded. "Disable if necessary. Avoid hull breach." "Yes, sir." Another officer spoke. "Sir, the child's life signs are stable." Stone allowed himself one slow breath. "Good." He looked at the fleet around him. Thousands of human soldiers waited. Not angry. Not wild.
Disciplined.
Focused on one goal. Bring the child home. Back on the pirate ship, the countdown reached 10 minutes. Rake felt trapped. We fight, he said suddenly. We break through one side. Drax stepped in front of him. If you fire, they will not miss. Rake's eyes burned with frustration. What choice do we have? Drax answered quietly. You still have one. The clock showed 5 minutes. Human ships powered weapons, but they did not fire. Their targeting systems locked silently. The bridge grew colder. Rake looked at the message again in his mind. Return the child. Nothing more. No insults. No threats. Just certainty. Outside, human ships adjusted position again. Perfect coordination. The sensor officer whispered. They are ready. Rake looked at Drax. For the first time, fear replaced pride. What will they do if we refuse? Drax met his eyes. They will come. The final minute began. And in the silent darkness of space, the human fleet waited. No escape. The final minute ended. Silence filled the pirate bridge. Captain Rake stared at the timer as it reached 0. Nothing happened. No explosion. No sudden attack. Just silence. For one brief second, Rake felt relief. See, he said quickly. They are bluffing. Drax did not answer. Then the ship shook. Not from an explosion. From impact. Precise. Controlled. The sensor officer shouted. Engines offline. Another voice followed. Weapons disabled. Power systems failing. Rake grabbed the command rail. What did they hit? Drax answered quietly. Only what they needed to. On the main screen, the human fleet had not moved much. But thin beams of light had struck the pirate ship at exact points. No hull breach. No fire spreading. Just systems shutting down one by one. They're cutting us apart, the engineer said over comms. Piece by piece. Rake's anger turned to panic. Return fire. We cannot, the weapons officer replied. Controls are dead. Another impact shook the ship. This one softer. Boarding craft detaching, the sensor officer whispered. Rake felt his throat tighten. They would not risk boarding with a child on board. Drax looked at him with tired eyes. They trust their control. Inside the holding room, Eli felt the vibration through the floor. The guard near the door looked terrified. What is happening? The guard asked no one. Eli stood slowly. They are here. The guard backed away. On the human flagship, Admiral Stone watched calmly. Boarding teams report attachment complete, an officer said. Proceed, Stone replied. Human boarding craft had locked onto the pirate vessel in multiple places. Small cutting beams opened entry points. Inside each craft stood soldiers in dark armor. Their movements were steady, their breathing slow. One soldier spoke softly into comms. Primary objective, recover the child. Secondary objective, detain hostiles. No shouting, no anger, just clear orders. The first human team entered the pirate ship. They moved like one body. 2 covering angles. 1 advancing. They did not fire wildly. They fired only when necessary. Pirates who resisted were stunned and restrained within seconds. One pirate dropped his weapon immediately and raised his hands. The human soldier nodded once and moved past him. No wasted time. Every second mattered. On the bridge, Rake pulled out a side weapon. We will not surrender, he growled. Drax stepped between him and the door. It is over. Before Rake could answer, the bridge doors burst open. 3 human soldiers entered. Weapons aimed. Steady. Drop it, one of them said calmly. Rake fired. The shot missed. In the same instant, a stun round struck his chest. He collapsed to the floor. Drax slowly raised his hands. We surrender, he said. The human soldiers secured the bridge within moments. No cruelty. No shouting. Just efficiency. In the lower deck corridor, another human team reached the holding room. The door was locked. One soldier placed a device against it. The lock melted open quietly. They entered carefully. The guard inside fell to his knees instantly. I surrender, he cried. Eli stood near the wall. For a moment, everything felt still. One of the human soldiers lowered his weapon. He removed his helmet. It was a woman with tired but steady eyes. "It's okay," she said softly. Eli stared at her. "You came." She gave a small nod. "Of course we did." She knelt and gently untied the restraints. Another soldier checked Eli quickly for injuries. "Child is safe," he reported through comms. On the flagship, Admiral Stone closed his eyes briefly. "Good," he said. Across the pirate vessel, resistance ended quickly. Human soldiers moved room to room. Every pirate was detained. No unnecessary damage was done to the ship. Within 20 minutes, it was over. Rake woke up in restraints on the bridge floor. Human soldiers stood guard nearby. He looked around in disbelief. "You destroyed nothing," he muttered. A human officer stepped forward. "We came for the child. That fleet for one life?" The officer met his eyes. "For one of ours." Rake felt something heavy settle inside him. He had expected rage, violence, cruel revenge. Instead, he saw something colder. Control. Drax stood nearby, also restrained. He looked at Rake quietly. "I warned you." Rake could not answer. On the docking bay of the human flagship, Eli walked down the boarding ramp. Medical teams waited. So did a small shuttle from Haven 12. Eli's parents stepped forward, tears in their eyes. They ran to their child. The reunion was quiet but powerful. Human soldiers turned away respectfully. Admiral Stone watched from a distance. An officer approached him. "Sir, pirates secured. No human casualties." Stone nodded. "Prepare to return home." He looked at the vast fleet around him. They had crossed systems without hesitation. Not for power. Not for revenge. But for a child. Across nearby star systems, alien observers sent reports. The message was simple. Humans do not shout when they are angry. They do not threaten when they are serious. They arrive. And they do not fail. As the human fleet entered warp, the galaxy understood something new. You could raid their ships. You could challenge their borders. But if you stole a human child, the humans would come. And there would be no escape. The warning to the galaxy. The human fleet did not celebrate. There were no victory signals. No loud broadcasts. After the child was safe and medical teams confirmed everyone was stable, the ships turned back toward human space in perfect order. Behind them, the pirate vessel remained disabled but intact. A human escort ship stayed close, guiding it under control. Captain Rake sat inside a holding cell aboard the human flagship. His hands were bound with energy restraints. Across from him sat Drax, silent and thoughtful. Rake finally spoke. "They could have destroyed us." Drax nodded. "Yes." "They did not even damage the hull."
"No."
Rake lowered his head. "Why?" Drax answered slowly. "Because this was never about anger. It was about the child." Rake stared at the metal floor. He had fought many species in his life. Most responded with rage. Some with fear. Others with desperate deals. Humans had responded with something else. Precision. Purpose. Unity. That frightened him more than anything. On Earth, news of the rescue spread quietly at first. The colony of Haven 12 welcomed Eli home. The reunion was recorded but not made into a public show. The family was given privacy, protection, support. Admiral Stone stood before a small council meeting. Leaders from different human regions were present, but there was no argument among them. One council member spoke. "The child is safe?" "Yes," Stone replied. "Losses?" "None." A small silence followed. Another member leaned forward. "And the pirates?" "In custody. They will face trial under interstellar law." The council nodded. There was no call for revenge. No demand for blood. Only agreement.
Protect.
Recover.
Judge.
That was the human way. Across the galaxy, the event moved through communication networks like a shockwave. Alien trade stations replayed sensor footage of the human fleet arrival. Military leaders studied the formation patterns. They noticed something important. The humans did not scramble. They did not argue over command.
They moved as one force.
In a distant system, a military commander named Vor watched the recordings carefully. He spoke to his officers. They mobilized dozens of capital ships within hours. And they coordinated without visible delay, one officer added. Vor folded his hands behind his back. All for a single child. Another officer asked quietly, "Would we do the same?" No one answered. The pirate crew was transferred to a neutral interstellar court. Observers from many species attended. Rake stood before the judges, no longer proud.
He looked smaller now.
The lead judge, a calm alien elder, spoke clearly. "You are charged with assault, kidnapping, and violation of protected space." Rake swallowed. He had expected humans to demand control of the trial. They did not. They presented evidence. They showed restraint. Even the footage of the rescue showed careful targeting. No unnecessary killing. The judge looked at Rake. "Do you understand why this response occurred?" Rake hesitated. "Yes." "Explain." Rake forced the words out. "We stole a human child." The court remained silent. The lesson did not need more explanation. Back on Haven 12, life slowly returned to normal. Repair crews rebuilt damaged homes. Children played again in open streets. Eli sometimes looked up at the sky at night. The stars felt different now. Not safer, but clearer. One evening, Eli asked a simple question. "Did they really bring all those ships for me?" His mother smiled gently. "They came because you are family." His father added softly, "And humans do not leave family behind." Weeks later, a formal message was broadcast across major galactic channels. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It came from Admiral Stone. His face was calm, his voice steady. "Humanity seeks peace with all species," he said. "We respect borders. We honor agreements. We value cooperation."
He paused.
"But understand this clearly." There was no anger in his tone. "If you harm our civilians, we will respond." Another pause. "If you take one of our children, we will come." The message ended there. No threats. No raised voice. Just certainty. In pirate circles, new rules began to spread. Avoid human colonies. Do not board human civilian ships. Never touch human young. Even criminal leaders who had once laughed at humans now issued strict warnings. The risk was too high. The cost too certain. In military academies across distant systems, instructors added new case studies. The human retrieval event, they called it. Students studied the speed of response, the discipline, the refusal to negotiate for ransom. They noticed one thing repeated in every report. The humans never acted out of rage. They acted out of protection. That made them more dangerous than any furious enemy. Because rage fades. Protection does not. On a quiet balcony overlooking Earth's oceans, Admiral Stone stood alone one evening. An officer approached him. "Sir, the galaxy is calling it a turning point." Stone looked out at the horizon. "It should not be." "Sir, we did what any parent would do." The officer nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." Stone watched the sun dip below the curve of the planet. He knew something had changed. Not because of power, not because of fear, but because the galaxy now understood a simple truth. Humans may forgive insults. Humans may negotiate territory. Humans may endure threats. But if you steal a human child, the humans are coming. And they will not stop. Not until their own are home.